At the edge of the known world, nestled in the snowy cliffs of Antarctica, lived a clever little penguin named Koko. Koko was no ordinary penguin. He was a master of disguise and a retired scam artist who had decided to leave his life of crime behind. He had spent years pulling off elaborate cons, but now he longed for a peaceful life. One day, while Koko was enjoying a quiet afternoon, a mysterious letter arrived. It was from his old partner in crime, Brian the Red Panda. Brian was notorious for his cunning tricks and mischievous nature. The letter read, "Dear Koko, I need your help. Meet me at the old ice cave. Urgently, Brian." Intrigued and slightly worried, Koko waddled his way to the ice cave. As he entered, he saw Brian pacing back and forth, looking more anxious than ever. "Koko, old friend. I'm in trouble," Brian exclaimed. "What's going on, Brian?" Koko asked, trying to hide his concern. Brian explained that he had tried to retire from his life of crime as well, but a group of grifters he had once conned were now after him. They had found out about his retirement and were demanding that he pull off one last big scam to pay them off. Koko sighed. He had hoped to leave that life behind, but he couldn't abandon his friend in need. Reluctantly, he agreed to help Brian with one final con. The plan was to trick the grifters into thinking they had stolen a valuable artifact, but in reality, it would be a fake. The next day, Koko and Brian set out to execute their plan. They decided to target the grifters at the annual ice festival, where rare artifacts were displayed. Koko, using his talent for disguise, dressed up as a wealthy collector, while Brian posed as his assistant. As they mingled with the crowd, Koko and Brian spotted the grifters. They were a rough-looking bunch, eyeing the artifacts greedily. Koko approached them and began to boast about his latest acquisition, a priceless gem called the Crystal of Eternity. The grifters, intrigued and greedy, followed Koko and Brian to a secluded spot where they accidentally let slip that they were planning to transport the gem to a secret location. The grifters, thinking they were about to make a huge score, decided to steal the gem. That night, Koko and Brian set up an elaborate trap. They placed the fake gem in a heavily guarded, but easily accessible, location. As expected, the grifters fell for the bait and stole the fake gem. The next morning, the grifters were boasting about their heist when they realized the gem was a fake. Furious, they confronted Koko and Brian, demanding an explanation. Koko, with a twinkle in his eye, said, "You didn't think it would be that easy, did you? The real gem is hidden far away, and you'll never find it." The grifters, realizing they had been outsmarted, decided to cut their losses and leave. They knew they couldn't match wits with Koko and Brian. With the grifters gone, Koko and Brian breathed a sigh of relief. They had pulled off one last con, but this time, it was for a good cause. They had managed to outsmart the grifters and ensure their own safety. As they sat by the fire, Koko turned to Brian and said, "No more cons, Brian. We need to find a way to live peacefully." Brian nodded in agreement. "You're right, Koko. It's time for a fresh start." Together, they decided to use their skills for good. They became protectors of the ice festival, ensuring that no one else would fall victim to scams. They used their cunning and cleverness to keep the festival safe and fun for everyone. Years passed, and Koko and Brian became legends in the Antarctic. They were known not just for their past as scam artists, but for their bravery and kindness. They had found a new purpose in life and were finally at peace. And so, Koko the penguin and Brian the red panda lived happily ever after, proving that even the cleverest tricksters can find redemption and a new path.